At midnight, a vengeful ghost traced a blood trail as it searched for prey. However, this time it had chosen the wrong target, a veteran dressed in military uniform, wielding a large knife, and singing war songs from that era. The ghost could sense the aura of the retired soldier, clinging to the wall and hesitating to approach. After all, countless spirits had met their demise under that very blade. Suddenly, the tension was broken by the arrival of an elderly woman, her scolding voice shattering the eerie atmosphere. Even the ghost was bewildered by the nagging woman. It seemed that women only influenced the speed at which men drew their swords. With one swift strike, although the female ghost did not dissipate into thin air, she was rendered unable to harm anyone for a short period. The story takes place in a high school, with the male protagonist, Lin Shu-wei, being a top student. Due to his exceptional academic performance, he becomes the target of bullying by his classmates. They falsely accuse Lin Shu-wei of stealing class funds, and he looks at his homeroom teacher with an innocent expression. However, the envelope containing the funds is found on Lin Shu-wei's person, leaving the teacher speechless and allowing Duan Runhao to subject him to various humiliations. After school, Lin Shu-wei follows Duan Runhao to an abandoned equipment room, questioning why they accused him of theft and blamed him. As a result, he endures another brutal beating and narrowly escapes being blinded by a knife. Lin Shu-wei records the entire incident on his phone and plays it for the homeroom teacher. However, the teacher believes that Lin Shu-wei's goal should be to improve his relationship with Duan Runhao, rather than confront them directly. In an attempt to ease the tension between Lin Shu-wei and Duan Runhao, the teacher arranges for them to visit the community and care for the elderly and widowed. To their horror, these individuals display a complete lack of humanity, playing cruel pranks on the elderly by drawing ghostly faces on their faces and binding them to chairs, then spinning them around using a water hose. Only after they have had their fun do they take photos as evidence. Later, the group arrives at the home of a retired veteran and discovers a heavy metal box. Duan Runhao suspects that it contains gold bars, so they sneak back into the veteran's house at night to steal the box. As they exit the room, strange sounds echo through the corridor. Using a flashlight, they discover two monsters feasting on a corpse. The four of them are terrified, clutching the box tightly and fleeing frantically. As they were about to reach the street, they were taken by surprise when the small creature they encountered was hit by a car and fell to the ground. The driver, in a split second, accelerated and disappeared into the night. They approached to check the situation, but the small creature suddenly leaped up and pounced on one of them. In a critical situation, Duan Runhao swung a shovel and knocked it unconscious, a moment perfectly captured by a nearby surveillance camera. Concerned about leaving evidence behind, Duan Runhao decided to take the small creature with them. When they arrived at the equipment room, they discovered that the box contained only military medals and old documents belonging to the veteran. They had gone through a whole night's ordeal and found nothing valuable, but instead gained an additional corpse. Just as they were feeling frustrated about the situation, the deceased small creature unexpectedly resurrected. It stood up in an extremely eerie posture, with its neck rotating 180 degrees. The sight left the group in shock and disbelief. Faced with the four of them, the small creature prepared to escape. Its vulnerability to strong sunlight became evident, and the group laughed excitedly, quickly using a mirror to reflect the sunlight. The hapless creature had nowhere to hide, so it reluctantly took refuge in a cardboard box. Duan Runhao's face twisted into a sinister expression as if he had discovered a new continent. They tied up the small creature to a pillar. In order to prove that it wasn't human, Duan Runhao intentionally cut his palm, and true to his expectations, the small creature's appearance turned terrifying in response to the temptation of fresh blood. It emitted a piercing scream under the sunlight. Lin Shu-wei had thought that the group would stop after having their fun and release the small creature. However, they became increasingly excessive and used a heated pair of pliers to extract the small creature's sharp teeth. All this was done just because Duan Runhao's girlfriend wanted to make a unique bracelet, and they ended up nailing a piece of iron onto its mouth. The sudden disappearance of her younger sister left the elder sister in a state of panic. She followed the trail of blood, desperately searching for her sister. Inadvertently, she broke into the home of a veteran, and narrowly escaped being killed with a single knife strike. The group was extremely curious about what the small creature actually was. They gathered various tools for exorcism, but the small creature showed no signs of fear. Clearly, it wasn't a ghost. But how could they explain its cannibalistic tendencies? Through microscopic observation, they discovered that the small creature's blood was extremely peculiar. Not only did it rapidly consume other cells, but when exposed to sunlight, it would ignite spontaneously. Lin Shu-wei, through researching missing persons records, discovered that the small creature was named Lin Xiuzhen and had unfortunately fallen victim to a curse by a malevolent sorcerer, transforming her into her current ghostly form. Lin Shu-wei handed over the information to Duan Runhao, proving that the small creature was once a human. However, he disregarded it completely and continued to use the small mirror to reflect sunlight and burn the creature. In order to prevent her from starving to death, Duan Runhao had Lin Shu-wei act as a blood bank to feed the small creature. Lin Shu-wei assured the creature that they would find a way to save her. The next day, While attending class, someone bullied Lin Shu-wei again. Unexpectedly, Duan Runhao stepped forward and sent the prankster to the hospital. Soon after, the student's parents came to the school, and dealing with such a mischievous student couldn't be handled through conventional educational means. The homeroom teacher took out prayer beads and asked Duan Runhao to recite Buddhist scriptures with her. However, he remained playful and showed no signs of remorse. Unable to tolerate it any longer, the homeroom teacher raised her hand and slapped him, berating him as an uncultured scum. The teacher's words struck a nerve with Duan Runhao. He returned to the equipment room and vented his frustration by violently beating the small creature with a stick. A large amount of blood spilled under the sunlight, resulting in spontaneous combustion. A wicked idea flooded his mind. The group went to the teacher's office and poured the small creature's blood into a thermos flask without the teacher's knowledge. The homeroom teacher unknowingly took a sip and then went to the basketball court to watch a game. Suddenly, she felt a surge in her abdomen. Her eyes filled with bloodshot veins, and a large amount of black liquid flowed out from her lower body. Intentionally, Duan Runhao helped her stand in the sunlight, and as he expected, the teacher's body became scorching hot. Soon, she was engulfed in flames. This bizarre news happened to be witnessed by the small creature's sister. She believed that high school students had kidnapped her sister, so she specifically hunted students at night, even intercepting Duan Runhao's girlfriend on the school bus. The entire bus instantly filled with the smell of blood. No student escaped, including Duan Runhao's girlfriend, who wore the tooth bracelet. Upon learning of his girlfriend's death, Duan Runhao was overwhelmed with grief and vowed to seek revenge. To accomplish this, they devised a detailed operational plan. They nearly drained the small creature's blood and marked a predetermined route to lure the large creature into a trap. Next, they sealed off all entrances to the equipment room, leaving only one iron door. They filled the firefighting equipment with gasoline. Once the large creature entered the trap, Duan Runhao would set the room on fire, burning the sisters alive. The plan seemed foolproof, but the crucial task of closing the door fell upon Lin Shu-wei. Lin Shu-wei was well aware that these individuals had never cared about his life or well-being. He, like the small creature, was a pitiful victim of their bullying. With this in mind, he secretly loosened a piece of metal and instructed the small creature to escape with her sister through that opening when the time came. Meanwhile, the large creature's vengeful rampage continued at the school, claiming the lives of countless innocent students due to Duan Runhao's actions. As night fell, the other three members of the group reached their designated positions according to the plan. At that moment, Lin Shu-wei intentionally suggested swapping positions with the person hiding in the metal barrel. Unsurprisingly, his request was outright rejected. They had never considered him a friend. Since that was the case, they would receive their deserved fate. Seeing that the large creature had found their location, Lin Shu-wei deviated from the original plan. Instead, he ran ahead into the equipment room, firmly locking the iron door from the inside. He then dialed one of their phones, exposing his hiding place with the sudden ringing. The large creature lifted the barrel lid and mercilessly ended his life, his screams shattering the silence of the night. The other two individuals, witnessing Lin Shu-wei's unexpected actions, became completely panicked. At this moment, Duan Runhao, fearless and undeterred, rushed to the iron door, pounding on it frantically. He continuously apologized and begged Lin Shu-wei to open the door and let him in. Lin Shu-wei was well aware that if he opened the door, Duan Runhao had 100 ways to eliminate him. As the two individuals were mercilessly slaughtered outside, large amounts of fresh blood seeped under the door, clearly showing that they had been too naive. A mere broken iron door could not stop the large creature. At this moment, the small creature seemed to sense her sister's arrival and continuously emitted distress signals. Soon, the large creature broke through the door, and Lin Shu-wei, trembling with fear, hid behind the small creature, pleading for mercy in exchange for the blood he had provided. He begged the sister to spare him. Seeing her sister's suffering, the large creature felt immense pain and threw Lin Shu-wei out harshly, determined to make those who harmed her sister pay with their lives. In this life-or-death moment, Lin Shu-wei's phone alerted him that the sun had risen. He quickly removed the unscrewed iron plate. In an instant, the dazzling sunlight shone upon the sister, eliciting a piercing scream. Witnessing this scene, the large creature selflessly rushed in front of her sister, shielding her from the scorching sunlight with her own body. At the same time, she exerted all her strength to tear apart the iron chains on her sister. However, the sunlight grew stronger, and her own strength diminished. In the final moments of her life, the two sisters embraced tightly, burning together into ashes. Lin Shu-wei had thought that Duan Runhao had been eradicated, and he could live with dignity. However, the truth proved to be so cruel. Looking at his unrepentant classmates, Lin Shu-wei's defenses crumbled completely. Since he couldn't change the reality, he decided to be destroyed along with it. Lin Shu-wei secretly poured the blood into the soup, ensuring that his classmates consumed their final meal, including himself. As the sunlight penetrated the classroom, the classmates behind him began to spontaneously combust. Lin Shu-wei shouted loudly, ultimately turning into flames of anger. This is a film disguised as a horror movie, but it provokes the audience to contemplate school bullying and human nature in a darkly humorous manner. It ruthlessly exposes the ugliness within the human heart. Indeed, the human heart is more terrifying than any monstrous creature. As a movie lover, I look forward to the next cinematic journey. Farewell, and thank you for subscribing.